Hey y'all, it's me, your friendly Gayborhood host, Jacob, back for yet another season of Out in the Woods. Now, I know that I started off season 3 with Enter the Mind book. That was a lot of fun. I can't wait to talk more about that. But today we're gonna be a little bit more chill, a whole lot less intense, I would say. Because if you are on my Facebook or Instagram, you know that I posted a call for questions for a Q&A. So if you have seen some of these, great. I can't wait for you to hear the answers. If you haven't, great, because we're just going to have a good old time. And if you're not already following me on social, it's Instagram at ONTW underscore podcast or the Out in the Woods LGBT Crossroads and Connections Facebook group. I do have an Out in the Woods Facebook page. I really don't interact there. It doesn't get a lot of traffic or interaction. And the whole point of being out here and being your friendly Gayborhood host is that I get to know you, right? So anyway, yes, welcome to the first annual Out in the Woods Q&A episode, season 3, episode 2. So I'm going in no particular order, and I'm not going to name names for some of these. You can already see their name if you go and look at it on socials. But otherwise, we're keeping it completely anon. I'm just here to answer these questions. All right, let's see. So, what music are you listening to these days? So honestly, y'all, right now, I don't really have a whole lot of new music that I'm listening to. I mean, of course, right after I went on break from season 2, that's when Daddy's Home by St. Vincent really hit the scene. And so I hated it at first, but then I loved it. Um, I've, of course, been listening to the album Involuntary Engine by Alex Bryant, a really, really great album. Orbit and Spiraling, probably my two biggest favorite non-single songs on there, but Monster and If I'm Being Honest, of course, are great. And Something to Live For, the album version, is, whew, I'm about it. I'm about it. The Cold Heart PNAU remix from Elton John and Dua Lipa is a bop. And of course, y'all, I have no shame about it. I have no bones about it. I am so happy because ABBA is back after almost 40 years. ABBA is back. And of course, I've been listening to I Still Have Faith in You and Don't Shut Me Down, the two lead singles from their new album Voyage, coming out in November. I cannot wait to see more. And here's a quick little nerd moment. Just an Ocean and Bumblebee, which are also slated to be on the album, are both songs that they worked on a long time ago but never really came to fruition. But if you go and you find this track called ABBA Undeleted Medley. It's 15, 20 minutes long, and it's just like a mismatch of all of these B-sides and unreleased tracks, and you will hear Bumblebee, and you will hear Just an Ocean when they were originally being produced. So, knowing what they sound like, I can't wait to hear what they sound like in a modern context. ABBA is back full force. Other than that, the music that I'm listening to is honestly to kind of inform and get me inspired for future Mindbook episodes. I look to music to help with my creative thought process and everything like that. So, I'm just envisioning more trailers for these upcoming Mindbook episodes, seeing how the music resonates kind of with the themes that I'm wanting to talk about and everything like that. So right now I'll go ahead and let you in on this, for episode 2, for Mindbook episode 2, which I still have not landed on a title yet. I think the overarching song that I would choose for that would definitely be At the Door by The Strokes. So if y'all want to go check that song out, you'll probably be hearing part of it in the trailer for that. And Strokes, don't sue me. Just know that you have a gay boy fan out here who loves you, and your music resonates enough with them to make him use you for his own creative means. Um, so yeah, that's what I've been listening to these days. Let's see. In that same vein, collab or kill. Mariah Carey or Doja Cat. So here is the thing. The person who asked me this question told me to take it seriously. And I here's the thing. I have many thoughts about it because I just don't really care for Mariah Carey. I really love Doja Cat's work, but recently I found out that she's been working with Dr. Luke, and that's pretty problematic. I think there's a whole lot of black and white to the issue. But if I had to choose, I would kill Mariah Carey and definitely collab with Doja Cat because Doja Cat's a lot of fun. She's creative. She does her own thing. And yeah, I really, I don't know. I mean, it's hard not to love Doja Cat, really. Um, let's see. Um, what is the biggest struggle to start making a podcast? So, the biggest struggle, here's the secret. Here is the secret. The biggest struggle to making a podcast, to starting a podcast, is simply your mind. It's simply deciding to do it. Um, because, I mean, all I had to do was buy equipment, plug in a mic, plug in my earphones, my headphones, and start recording. And I have a podcast. I mean, it's literally that simple. I mean, I understand, like, the hurdle of being like, well, what do people want to hear? What do I have to say? But the thing is, honestly, the market is so saturated now, it really doesn't, in my opinion, matter. If you can if you feel like you have your own unique voice and your own unique spin that you can put on any kind of topic of conversation or subject, go for it. That's what I say. Just go for it. Don't let your fears of what ifs hold you back. Just jump into it. Just jump into it. And that's, once again, that's how I'm here. That's how I'm here today, sitting here talking to you. So yeah. Um, what is my proudest accomplishment? What is your proudest accomplishment? So this is a tough one. Um, I think right now, especially because vulnerable time, I'm not like feeling my best, mentally. I'm not like I'm having to learn right now how to pick up all the pieces and reframe a lot of things in my life and a lot of memories in my life. So right now, to say what my proudest accomplishment would be, I mean, I think simply my proudest accomplishment would just be just starting the podcast in general, I guess. I just to let everybody know, in case you were wondering, I did get nominated for the Best Podcast Award in Festival South, which I was really excited about. Unfortunately, I did not get past the second or third round, I don't remember which, of voting. And that's okay, because honestly, y'all, I still get messages all the time from people who tell me, how much the podcast actually means to them and how much they love it and how much, it actually helps them. And so I think my proudest accomplishment is being able to somehow make an impact in people's lives, no matter how many people it is or how big of an impact. I'm just glad that I could do it. So, um, yeah, yeah. Let's see. Mm, what has been the most challenging thing about producing the show? Honestly, that is a moving target. The most challenging thing about producing the show is a moving target, but honestly, it has gotten so much easier as time has gone on, just because, the first season was definitely a learning curve between wanting to do audio and then wanting to transition into YouTube. Um, so yeah, that was the biggest thing, like learning how to film everything, learning how to edit everything down. That was, I think, the biggest hurdle that I've had to jump. Other than that, like, the hardest thing about producing this is time. It's all time. That's why I whenever I take breaks, I make sure I take a good amount of time off to recharge my batteries and everything like that. Um, because it's all spur of the moment, all flying by the seat of my heels. Um, like, for instance, I'm recording this on Thursday and releasing it on Friday. And that's mostly just to give people time to like send in their questions and everything. But um, right now I'm in the organizational phase, and honestly, honestly, I should have sent out the advertisement looking for potential guests before I even released the first episode. But honey, I didn't, and here we are, and we're gonna work through it. And honestly, I've had a surprising amount of traction and attention on that. So definitely gearing up for a bigger season. I just need to get my shit together and start being more proactive about getting guests lined up. So yeah, that's been the biggest hurdle, really, is time management. But I have ADHD, so time management is a skill that I think I will probably be learning till the day I die. Um, who would play you in a movie about your life? So I think several people would play me. Let's be completely frank. Childhood me, I don't know. Look, pick out the best child actor of the day and age when the movie is being made. Slap him in there. It will be a high honor playing me, playing young me. Um, and that's all good and well. Now, for young adult me, like me where I am now, let's go ahead. We're going to get Timothy Chalamet, and for, the first couple of scenes that he's in, or, the first good bit, we're going to have him in a fat suit. So Timothy Chalamet is going to completely transform. It's going to be a very realistic looking fat suit. He's going to look morbidly obese, but he's going to be acting his ass off. And then once, the surgery happens, we're going to, use movie magic to generally get him down to a skinnier version. Of course, still not as skinny as Timothy Chalamet, unless Timothy Chalamet, for the role, wants to get a dad bod, in which case, absolutely, I fully support it. Um, older me, as I get older, I think Timothy Chalamet should play me up until, my mid 30s or so. We can do old age makeup and stuff like that. And then, like, once I get, like, older, Tilda Swinton. Tilda Swinton will play me, and we'll go from there. We'll see. That is my answer. Last, final answer. Um, what is my best memory and why? So once again, ADHD, my memory, I'm just like, ugh. And now, are we talking? The thing is, are we talking about podcasts, like my best memory pertaining to the podcast, or are we talking about my best memory just in general? Um, because I have such a hard time picking things like this whenever it comes to questions like this, because I feel like I have so many. Um, so if you're asking me in general about my life, I'm gonna have to like, or we're gonna have to pass on that one. We're gonna have to pass on that one. Um, but if we're talking about the podcast, I think, oh my god, I'm gonna have to pass on that one too. I mean, look, I'm sorry for sounding so avoidant, but I have had so many great guest interactions. I mean, I really and truly love all of the people that I bring on here. Um, and so, just, yeah, I mean, once again, I have so many great memories with all of them, so I really can't say. Just know that I have had some great memories. So there we go. Who is your hero, both fictional and in real life? So, fictionally speaking, I have quite a number of heroes. Honestly, if Rise of Skywalker hadn't happened, Princess Leia would have been completely flawless. Absolutely, completely flawless. I think Princess Leia is definitely a hero, a fictional hero that I look up to, simply because of her snap decision making in the most tumultuous of circumstances. I'm really trying to take a page from Princess Leia's book right now with, just all of the shit I'm going through too. She was a bad bitch. She made people die while looking great. And she said fuck the patriarchy and choked the shit out of a giant space slug. So, we love her. We love her for that. Now my real life hero, that's the thing. This is going to be such a cynical answer. But generally speaking, oh, it's so hard to have real life heroes, especially nowadays because we find out so much about, who people really are behind closed doors. Um, and so I think as much as there are so many celebrities out there and public figures that I love, I don't know if I could say with 100% certainty that any of them could always be my hero. So I'm going to defer to all of the activists who fought for queer rights through history, um, on up through the AIDS epidemic, because those people really were heroes, especially during the AIDS epidemic, whenever everyone was dying. And even some of these activists themselves were dying, and they still stood up to an oppressive government that did not care about them at all. So those people are my heroes. Yeah, there we go. All right, next question. If you could create a secret society, what would it be for, and what would you name it? Okay, so I mean this in the least diabolical way possible, okay? So, my secret society would be called Black Rainbow, and it would be, of course, named after a very good St. Vincent song, but also, um, because what it would be is a secret organization of queer intellectuals and politicians and actors from all across the LGBTQ plus spectrum. And basically, what we would do is we would find ways to promote other queer people, promote queer life in the world. Um, and yeah, I mean, we would basically infiltrate all forms of government and media, and basically normalize queerness, and legislate good things for all people, but especially for queer people worldwide. And yeah, we would nip that shit in the bud, and get to other things, and hopefully, we could also do some great mutual aid for other minorities as well. And get the money flowing where it needs to flow through our dark and hidden means. So yeah, that's my answer. Black Rainbow. Join today. Um, so, uh, speaking of things in the dark, this one pertains to my Out in the Woods After Dark episode from season one. Um, so the question is, how is the kink exploration going that you talked about in the After Dark episode? Any fun updates for us? So here is the thing, everybody. Once again, I'm here to be vulnerable. I'm here to tell you all the truth, and the truth is, um, some of you already know, some of you don't. I have an alt Twitter. And if you don't know what an alt Twitter is, go ask Google. But yeah, I use my alt Twitter for things that happen in the dark that are not pertaining to exorcisms. I'm talking about, it's my porn Twitter. Okay, I said it. I have a porn Twitter, and Uh, maybe I also post some content of my own there. But I'm not going to give you the name unless you ask nicely. And even then, I still might not give it to you. Um, but nonetheless, Twitter has this great new feature called Spaces, and basically what that is, it's an open forum where you and other Twitter users can just hop on and chat with voice chat. So it's like a giant room full of all sorts of people that you can talk to. And very recently, I've started hopping in those spaces and just chatting with people. And through that, I've met a lot of great folks. I've actually met some people that I think would actually be potential guests for the podcast, especially a future After Dark installment. That's one thing that I hate that I didn't do in season two, actually. I didn't have a good After Dark episode. But this time around, I'd really love to have one. And, talking to some of these Kingsters, I've come to understand a much wider range of kinks, and I mean, not necessarily that I'm into any of them per se, but I understand them now. And you know I I'd still say generally I'm pretty vanilla. um but if I had to like put anything out there that you wanted to print on the front page of the newspaper, I guess you could call me a bratty sub. So there you go. That's my answer. That's my answer to that question. Yeah, yeah. Twitter is not as much of a cesspool as it used to be. It's a different kind of cesspool now, but it's not all bad. It's not all bad. And thank you for asking. So let's see. Um, so I have two questions left, so I'm going to answer this one first. How did you come up with the concept of dramatizing your inner struggles with mental illness for the premiere episode? All right, so let's start months ago, like a year ago. So as you all know, my good friend Sai has his podcast, So You Want to Be a Better Ally. And that podcast really, I mean, it's less of a podcast and more of an audio drama. And from the first time I heard it, that kind of like, it didn't blow my mind per se, but just knowing just the format and seeing what he was able to do with the audio drama format and how he was able to present these ideas, I just thought it was brilliant. I just thought it was absolutely brilliant. Um, but that's not what my podcast is. Um, and so, I got to know Sai, really thought he was great. So then down the line, back in June, as you know, if you listened to the first um, Mind Book episode, I had a massive panic attack. Like, a panic attack that was at least 3 hours long. Um, it was very intense. It was very draining. It was very scary. I mean, it's a panic attack. I mean, that's like the MO for panic attacks. But yeah, and honestly, at the time, I thought it was just a random occurrence. But then the anxiety didn't really go away, and it started manifesting itself in different ways, and it it morphed and changed in different ways as well. Um, and I finally had just I was at my wit's end, and I started seeking help from a therapist. And once I started doing that, I also started, before I could see a therapist, I started looking um, online, but of course not at WebMD. I mean, not to say that WebMD is bad. It's just like I didn't want to be told that I had like brain cancer or anything and make my anxiety worse. Um, but I started going to scholarly resources and everything like that to like, analyze and see, what was going on in my brain. And to help me remember that, I started writing things down so that I could return to them really easily. And having it in my own handwriting felt more personal, so it felt like, I had made my mark. It was kind of written into my memory as well as into a physical tome. Um, you know, that progressed into watching YouTube videos about mental health and stuff like that, and just, exploring philosophy and everything like that. And and it came to a point where, you know, like the social media post said, one day, I've been dealing with anxiety for the longest, but one day I was swimming in my pool, and I just all of a sudden I just got hit with this feeling of hopelessness and, nihilism, like what's the point of anything, like why am I here, all of that. And you know my brain was just trying to, like, the other part of my brain was just scrambling to figure out how to make me feel better. And all of a sudden I just heard a voice, just say cut, and then I just imagined, like, you know the camera panning back and all of these thoughts were just, a rehearsal of something on a movie set. I don't know, my brain's fucking weird, okay? And so that was the first spark, because then I was like, well, I kind of want to explore this more. Like, I really want to dive into this. Like, this is something, like, really unexpected. And so the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I really think that I want to do this as an audio drama, you know? And then I was like, well, but I can't just fit it all into one, episode. And so I was like, well, I'll make multiple. And I drafted up a script that was completely different than the one that you heard in the premiere episode. That one was definitely more campy, because at the time I was like, I'll just be light and fun. But as time went on, I realized, no, I have to be. Light and fun isn't the best way to tell the story. And it's not the best way to be vulnerable. It's not the best way to be honest. So I went back to the drawing board and drafted it up. And yeah, that's where we came to, and that's how we ended up with the first Enter the Mind book. Um, I'm very proud of it. I was very excited to see how people react, and so far people have been reacting very well. Um, but yeah, so I guess, yeah, that's how I came up with the concept of dramatizing. I think, talking about Princess Leia, um, Carrie Fisher once had this quote that I think about frequently, which is take your broken heart and turn it into art. And sometimes that's the best thing that we can do. That's the best thing that we can do. So, last question. If you did have the chance to talk with David Bowie and you could only ask him one question, what would it be? And this is this is one of the toughest questions, because I would want to ask him so many questions. But I think I think the biggest thing that I would ask David Bowie is, what does it all mean to you? You know, and by what does it all mean, I mean, what's life? What how did you find yourself here and then just continue to do what you have done? How have you overcome so much? How did creativity really drive you through all of this? So once again, like, what does it all mean to you? Because I feel like I would have so much clarity, on my own life. And maybe this is projection, I don't know, but I just feel like it would give me some kind of sense of clarity and direction if I actually heard it from the horse's mouth. So that is what I would ask my hero, David Bowie. And yes, I know what I said earlier and that doesn't change anything. But David Bowie is definitely one of my heroes. He could technically be fictional, because like once again, sometimes he never felt like he was a person, just a collection of other people's ideas. So there you go. Um, so those were the questions. Those were my answers. Um, Thank y'all so much for tuning in. And honestly, like, if y'all have any questions that didn't make it on here that you might have wanted to ask, feel free to just message me, and I would be more than happy to answer them in private. Um, yeah, yeah. Um, and if you want to message me, you can email me at ontwpodcast@gmail.com. You can slide in my DMs on Instagram at ontw_podcast. Or you can post on my wall at the Out in the Woods LGBT Crossroads and Connections Facebook page. Or you can go to TikTok at JakeyPoo777. You can DM me there too. I really don't care. I just love y'all and I want to hear from y'all more. Um, but yeah, definitely look forward to what season 3 has to bring. Um, I can't wait to talk to some of these people that are reaching out. And I really can't wait to show y'all what's in store with Enter the Mind book. So there we go. Thanks for coming out in the woods and into my closet.